Hello guys! Well, in this video I'm going to talk about the lesson number 3. In this lesson we are going to study the Pre-columbian cultures, which surely sounds familiar to you, and also we are going to see how America was conquered by the Europeans, especially the Spanish conquest of South America. But first, I want us to be clear, when did the population start in America? When America was populated for the first time? Well, we have to go back to prehistory, okay? As you know perfectly, Homo sapiens was born in Africa, more or less in this area, and this was 300,000 years ago, more or less, okay? Hace unos 300,000 años empieza a haber restos de Homo sapiens en el continente africano. And then from this date, the Homo sapiens start to spread throughout the world, okay? They go to populate Europe firstly, okay, in this direction. Also, Homo sapiens conquer or populate Australia and obviously Asia, okay? And finally, they are going to reach America through the Bering Strait, following this way. You can observe this very well in this standard map of the North Pole, okay? When you can see that the eastern part of Russia and the western part of Alaska practically touch each other, okay? This small piece of water, this is the Bering Strait, okay? So this is really interesting. Well, time passed in America and Homo sapiens advanced in prehistory, going from the Paleolithic age to the Neolithic age, okay? The Neolithic, as I explained for you in the first year of ESO, curiously arose all around the world and more or less in the same periods. You can observe this in this map, okay? You can observe the different places where Neolithic start, okay? Where people start to domesticate agriculture and livestock farming. And you can observe also the different dates. Well, the first place where Neolithic starts was the Fertile Crescent, okay, in Middle East, more or less 10,000, 8,000 years ago. And then it spread all around the Mediterranean Sea. Another important place where Neolithic start was the south of Asia, and also obviously America, okay? And especially this part of Mexico, where the first Neolithic culture in America starts. And this first important culture was the Olmec culture, okay? Obviously, this population was sedentary. They domesticate agriculture and livestock farming. They were settled in villages. They start using pottery, ceramics, okay? All this information you know perfectly, okay, from first ESO. Now, we are going to talk especially about the Olmec culture. This is a very interesting culture because they were really well developed. As you can see here, they have an advantageous land, okay? It was a very fertile land, so they have a lot of crops every year. They can feed their population, so they increase their population a lot, okay? And also they can develop their culture. For example, they use hieroglyphic writing, okay? Esto ya demuestra que ser una civilización con cierto avance porque están usando ya un lenguaje escrito, aunque sean jeroglíficos como estudiamos en Egipto, pero esto es muy interesante. Also, they have a very interesting astronomical knowledge, okay? They learn things and they study the sky, okay? The different stars, the movement of planets, etc. So they are very intelligent. Also, they are very, very well known because of their monumental sculpture, as you can see in this image, okay? They create giant sculptures, usually heads of, I don't know exactly, probably their main characters in their society or gods or something like that, okay? But as you can see in the image, they are very well sculptures, okay? Very well developed artists. And this is symbolize a developed culture also, okay? And obviously they practice different crafts, handmade products, and they practice commerce. Well, with the very, very big influence of the Olmec culture, now we have to talk about one of the most interesting pre-columbian culture, which is the Mayan culture, okay? You know probably the Mayan culture. You have learned something about this, probably, or in a film or whatever. You know something about that. And this culture was developed in Central America, okay? You can see it in this map. The Olmecs were situated more or less in the south of Mexico, okay? And the Mayan culture was placed especially in the Yucatan Peninsula, okay? And you can see the Yucatan Peninsula more in depth or in zoom, okay, in this picture. And as you can see here, nowadays will be a little part of Mexico, but also other countries like Belize, Honduras, a little part of Salvador, and also Guatemala, okay? More or less in this area where developed the Mayan culture. As I have already said, there is a very big influence of Olmec culture. For example, in writing, okay? They use hieroglyphic writing. Also, they have a very interesting astronomical knowledge, okay? They develop a lot, all their knowledge about astronomy. And in fact, they are really, really well known because of the Mayan calendar. You can see this photograph here of an example of Mayan calendar with a lot of hieroglyphics, okay? Aquí se observa muy bien, tanto la decoración, es decir, la pintura, lo colorido que es, la forma de representar cosas que ellos tienen, pero también veis los jeroglíficos, es decir, cómo están usando símbolos para representar ideas y palabras y conceptos, ¿vale? Y bueno, seguro que este calendario maya os suena, eso seguro, ¿vale? It sounds familiar, surely. For example, about this calendar, okay? We thought that in 2012, en 2012, the world was going to finish, okay, the end of the world, etc. And this was because of the Mayan legend, the prophecy of Mayan's calendar, okay? So you know something about this. Obviously, it was not real, okay, because we are still alive by now, okay? Así que no se cumplió la profecía. Well, another interesting thing about the Mayan culture is the agriculture, okay? This is also a very well developed culture. They practice agriculture and livestock farming, and they use a specific type of cultivation, which is called the Rotha Cultivation. And you can observe in this image how it works, okay? Firstly, people cut down the forest, okay? The trees, the different trees. And then the vegetation that rests is born, okay? Lo van a quemar. And they are going to use this land to plant their crops, okay? And their crops especially are based on corn. More interesting things about the Mayan culture is that they have left a lot of important material remains, okay, especially architecture. For example, it is really famous their great pyramids. They are, in fact, as you can see in this image, step pyramids. Es decir, pirámides escalonadas, ¿vale? Esos escalones los podéis ver aquí perfectamente, ¿vale? Además tienen unas escaleritas para subir, pero bueno, esa forma de pirámide escalonada es muy interesante. These step pyramids usually have a kind of temple or sacred place just in the top, okay? This pyramid was surrounded by a very huge esplanades, es decir, un territorio abierto alrededor, bastante grande, where the population was congregate, okay? You have to imagine here a big crowd of people, okay? Watching the special or sacred actions that happen just in the top. About religion, Mayans were polytheists, okay? So they believe in different gods and goddess, okay? For example, one of the most important deities was Kukulkan, which is, or we can call the feather serpent, okay? Feather means pluma, okay? Es decir, la serpiente emplumada, Kukulkan, that you can observe in this image, okay? It's a serpent with feathers, okay? And this is a very interesting god because it is really similar to other gods in pre-columbian cultures, okay? We are going to realize these similarities, okay, when I explain the next cultures. So remember, okay, the feather serpent. They also believe in the moon and the sun, okay? There were deities for them. And in fact, they were so important that Mayans practice different rites where they have human sacrifices, okay? You can observe in this picture a sacrifice of a guy, and this is because of the sun, okay? And this image is very evocating. You can watch some films about the sacrifices in pre-Columbian cultures, especially Aztecs and Mayans, okay? For example, probably you know something about Apocalipto, okay? La película Apocalipto a lo mejor os suena, ¿vale? Una peli de Mel Gibson, donde esta idea del sacrificio, de cómo les arrancan el corazón, etcétera, y todo muy escatológico, pues está ahí reflejado, ¿vale? Seguro que esto suena. Well, another very well-known thing about the Mayan culture is the ball game, okay? The ball game is represented in this picture, and as you can see, well, they are playing with a ball, okay, a little ball, and in fact they have to hit the ball and try to get it through a little hole, okay? This is the idea. They obtain a point or something if they get the ball through this hole, okay? This is really well known. Well, as you can see, they are a very well-developed culture. They have a very interesting artistic monuments. They practice very complicated rites. They believe in different gods. Obviously, they have a hierarchical society. I'm not going to go more in depth about this, but you can imagine it. They practice a very complex agriculture. They domesticate animals, okay? So it's a very complex culture, okay? Really interesting. Well, why this culture disappeared? Well, probably because of different reasons, okay, altogether. But for example, the internal struggles were something significant, okay? Internal struggles, las luchas internas de poder, eso suele ser bastante dañino para un imperio. And also the desertification of its territory because of the Rotha agriculture, okay? This kind of practice became unfertile their lands, okay? Y bueno, este problema de la desertificación como posible fin de esta cultura, pues es algo que nos toca bastante de cerca porque es un problema actual que tenemos hoy en día. Nowadays, with the climate change, we have the problem of desertification, especially in Spain. So this idea is really interesting.